Lightspeed Spanish podcast 21 for early intermediate. That's right, so keep me right. And today we're talking about
the relative pronouns.
Relative pronouns. We better find out what they are first. ¿Qué tal, Cintia?
Muy bien, ¿cómo estás tú, Gordon?
Estoy hoy fenomenal, gracias.
Me alegro.
Como siempre.
Sí, de verdad.
Sí. ¿Y tú? ¿El ojo?
Oh, yo el ojo más o menos.
Más o menos.
Sí, tengo el ojo un poco seco.
Sí.
Sí. Necesito llorar. Gracias.
De nada.
Vale, pues los pronombres relativos in English.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look in books, they'll give you a massive list of relative pronouns, starting with que. Que in Spanish could be what, that, who, or which. Then we have, for example, el cual, la cual, los cuales, las cuales, which mean the one or the ones who or which, or those who, those which.
For example, I'll give you a sentence in English.
I was going to go through all of them and then...
Okay, well, just so they can picture it in the mind. I'm looking at a car, the one which is next to the building. That kind of way you would say it. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, it's a bit posh. Okay.
That's the way you talk.
No.
We also have el que, la que, los que, las que. They also mean the ones who, the one who, the one which, those which, those who. And I think that's it. And then we've got lo que, which is neutral. Okay, so now let's start. Que, as we said, is what, that, who, or which. Can you give us some examples?
Okay.
Of each one.
If you want to say that, I could say, Cintia, tengo que decirte que something. Yeah, I have to tell you that. Okay, so that's the that one. It's que, not a question. It's a that.
Sometimes in some type of sentences, the that could be omitted in English, can't it?
Yeah, like
Which type of
we
sentences?
mentioned in the absolute beginners one, where you can say this is the car you like, or this is the car that you like. In English we can do that. In Spanish
We can't. We have to put the that. So you need to make a mental note when you're talking in English that if there's a that hidden, you need to add it in the conversation in the Spanish conversation.
Sure. Yeah, in English if you can put it in, then it will be there in Spanish.
Okay, then we've got that. Que as who.
Yeah. So que as who?
The man.
Oh yeah. Right, I'm with
Who.
you. Yes. Confused me there for a
Or the
moment.
man that.
Yeah.
In English you can use both.
Now this is another important thing to bear in mind. Lots of students, when they're talking about, that's the man who lives in the house, in that house, they tend to say, ese es el hombre quien vive en esa casa. Okay, but the Spanish speakers don't really use quien. No. One of the reasons is we already know it's a man, so it's kind of redundant to then say, as if that mattered, of course. But it's redundant to say who for the Spanish people. We would in English, but equally we could say that, and that's what Spanish people do.
Yes, we would go for that. So we would say the man that, el hombre que vive en la casa, and also that for which. Those are the books which I like.
Yeah.
Or that I like. We would go for that. Esos son los libros que me gustan. Okay, moving on. Then we've got, this massive list I gave you before, el cual, la cual, los cuales. In truth, we would use que, but don't tell your teachers. And if you're taking an exam, then you do have to use los cuales, las cuales, because they ask you for it. But 9 out of 10 times we would say que.
Sure.
There are some cases though where we use los que or la que, and it's when we want to specify something. For example, I've got here the sentence, these eggs, which are fresh, are very tasty. Estos huevos, los que son frescos, están muy ricos. O estos huevos, que son frescos, están muy ricos. Difference. If I say estos huevos, que son frescos, están muy ricos, I'm talking about these eggs, all of them, these, are fresh and they're very tasty. But if I say estos huevos, los que o los cuales son frescos, están muy ricos, I would mean the ones that are fresh, not these ones
Only
that are
the
not
ones
fresh.
that are fresh, yeah.
Typically, yes, that's what we use that when we want to specify. Typically, I'm not saying all the time, but typically, okay. So, this dress, the one that is red, is my favorite. For example, in this type of sentences. So you, out of all the dresses you have, this one. Out of all the eggs that we have, the ones that are fresh, los que son frescos, or los cuales son frescos. Los cuales is a bit posh. Los que, if you wanted to choose that. That's a specific group.
Okay.
Instead of that, which is just the general group and general information.
I think it's worth probably mentioning that when we talk, when anybody talks, we tend to use language that's a lot more basic than when we write or when we're reading a book, for example. So if you're reading a story in Spanish, you're going to see this all the time. But actually, in spoken speech, it rarely happens.
Yes, well, I'm referring to spoken speech because it's
Yeah.
obviously different. When you write, you use other type of vocabulary and other different nouns and.
You can get your
different
thesaurus out and say,
Yeah.
well, how can I say this another way?
But in spoken, we tend to use que for most of the situations where in written you would use other more formal speech like los cuales or las cuales and so on. So I'm talking, and also if you take an exam, as I said before, if they say you must, if they give you sentences and you must have los cuales, then put it in, of course. But in spoken, if you go to Spain, that's where you're going to find. So if I give you a sentence, for example, the clothes which are still in the box are mine. Now you can have, that could mean two different things. What two different things can that sentence mean?
The clothes that are still in the box are mine.
Okay.
Well, I can understand
so,
one meaning. I'm not sure about the
right.
meaning.
So there are
Explain the
two
other
meanings. So if there are lots of clothes and I say the clothes that are in the box are mine, those ones are mine. No, I'm not talking about the rest, but the clothes that are in the box are mine. So how would you say that in Spanish?
La ropa, la que todavía está en la caja, es mía.
Okay. And another one is just like just a general information. The clothes that are in the box are mine. So you're just pointing out that they're in the box. There are no more, just those ones. And
Yeah,
that would
with
be in Spanish.
La ropa que está en la caja es mía.
Exactly.
So
It usually has commas so that you know it's one or the other. But
Okay.
again, you can use los cuales or las cuales or la que. Que. That would be the difference.
It's a nice explanation. Yes,
There you are.
I understand that.
¡Wey! Muy bien, Gordon.
Pasa a veces, eh?
Sí, a veces. We never talked about lo que, but I'll put that in the help sheet. And I'll put the difference between que with an accent and lo que on the help sheets.
Just one little thing about lo que, and it's what I used to hear a lot. People would say, "Puedes tener lo que sea," or I would hear people going, "Lo que sea," and I realised it means whatever, lo que sea. Yeah. So watch out for that one. That's a nice one. What would you like to eat? Lo que sea.
Lo que sea. Whatever.
Whatever. Okay, that's it. Yeah, we're done. Entonces.
Ya está.
Ya está. Nos vemos.
Y nos vamos.
Adiós.
Adiós.